the LG PL series, successor of the LG PK series, which I think was quite an impressive lineup of speakers. But this time around, LG decided to not just bring something that would and claim it's better and it's this, it's that. This time they made a very prominent improvement. Now, at first glance, you will see that the LG PL series has a bunch of small speakers, much smaller than their PK counterpart, and that is what impresses me the most, because they managed to to reduce the size of the speakers without actually sacrificing sound quality. Who does that? And it's not like these speakers are just slightly smaller or anything. No, these speakers are literally half the size of their PK brothers. This is the PL5. The PL5, the PK5 that I had, I was very daunted, by the way, to replace my PK5 because I was just so much in love with the sound that came out of it. And I thought the PL5 was perhaps going to be a downgrade, because how can you put that sound into something smaller? How can you possibly do that? Well, they did it. Now, I'm not saying that it sounds exactly like the PK5 or better. It is a downgrade to an extent. I mean, in certain departments, mainly the high bass departments. The high bass is the bass frequency responsible for the smoothness of the bass, like it's warm, smooth, and while the low bass is the one that you can feel, when you feel it in your heart and the doors vibrate and all that. That's the low bass, and the mid bass is the punchiness of the bass. And it does have a little less high bass than the PK5, but it's still very good. I mean, the sound to size ratio of this and the sound to size ratio of the PK5, the difference is it's a massive difference. Okay, this is like 1 to 2. The PK5 would be like 3 to 2. That's the ratio that exists. And this thing is so small, it would fit in my pocket. Sure, I'm not going to have the most comfortable walk to the park with the PL5 in my pocket, but the fact that it can do that is very impressive. It just makes it priceless. And this is the embodiment of portable speaker. I mean, the PK5, they called it portable, but I don't think it lived up to that name quite well, did it? And with those massive, bulky handles, I mean, that's my opinion. I found the handles very ugly. I don't know if LG was trying to create a spaceship, but it just looked ugly. It was not good. It did not appeal to me whatsoever. Okay, so this in its segment, I think, is going to be one of the best in the segment. It is in the same segment as the Marshall, and then I forgot the name, but there's this very tiny Marshall speaker. It doesn't matter, because after all, that is out of the price range. But this is the same as the Sony XB23 or the JBL Flip 5. Now, already you cannot compare a PL5 to a JBL Flip 5, because the PL5 has it has a stereo speaker inside. As you can see, if you look carefully, you would see 2 drivers. 1, 2. I hope you can see that. But the JBL only has 1 driver. Now, having two drivers, it makes all the difference. It's literally like night and day, because when you activate stereo on this speaker, you have sound coming out of sound goes out to the left, it goes out to the right, and there's also sound in the middle. Now that experience is splendid. It makes you it feels like you just unlocked certain sounds that you were unable to hear. And indeed, it makes more. It reproduces more sound when you put it on stereo than versus mono. So because of the mono speaker of the Flip 5, it is an automatic disqualification for me, and it cannot be compared to this. And this also, it could not compete with an XB3023 because it sounds much better. Probably has more bass. Okay, so now I'd say then the PL5 is in a segment of its own. It is not as treble heavy and bass heavy as a Sony XB33, which to me sounds horrible because it sounds very digital. This is a more natural sound, and I mean the Meridian technology tells it all. If they see the need to say with Meridian, And I think that's something special. They're trying to send a message out there. Alright, so the improvement they made on the button scheme, I think the most ingenious improvement LG made is adding this dot here. It's a tactile clue. Once you've localized this one, which doesn't require any look, and you don't need to glance at your speaker, you just feel. And once you've localized this, you can localize every other button on the speaker. That is something they should have done on the PK5, but I'm glad they did on the PL5. And in the back, you got the XBOOM lettering. I really love this. Now, this will not give you gonzo bass as it suggests, because when you see XBOOM, you think, oh my god, I'm getting a lot of bass. Well, I'll describe the bass on this one. It is not, it fits the size. And the most impressive thing is these passive radiators, I think there is reason behind why they did not do what JBL or Sony XB do. What they do with their speakers, they expose these passive radiators, and I think it is for a cause, because when you play music that has a lot of bass, this thing vibrates. It is the closest thing to haptic bass that is not haptic bass. And if you put it on a certain surface, you will feel the surface vibrate. And I sometimes try to lift it up just to see if I'm still going to get these vibrations. Now, it's not unpleasant. It's actually cool, especially when the lights are on. Now let's turn it on, shall we? So then, okay, no, okay. Look at that. Alright, so this has a sound boost, a single sound boost button, as opposed to sound enhanced bass and enhanced vocals. And I think this is better because the standard mode on this speaker is going to be this bass boost. That's default. By default, this thing is boosted for bass. Although it is not a bass heavy speaker, don't get me wrong. This is a very clean vocal centric speaker, but it also has a lot of bass for its size. Definitely not as much bass as this big fella, but for this thing, I mean, honestly, look at the size difference. And I'd rather keep this. This is the embodiment of portable speaker. And the sound boost here is more like an outdoor mode because it provides a very aggressive. I'll call it an outdoor mode because of the aggressive nature of the vocals. Once you press this button, and you will see it during the sound test. All right, I think enough of the talking. Let's do the sound test.
We hold each other high, but we fall 1,000 times. But I'd never say goodbye or ever leave stuff behind. When it's good, it's amazing. When it's bad, it's uneasy. I wouldn't have it another way. Please don't walk away. When it hurts like this, have a like, have a like, have a like, have a like, when it hurts like this, have a like, have a like, have a like, have a like, when it hurts like this. And I've been chillin', watching the ocean.
Okay, so you heard it as the lyrics suggested. It sounds amazing. It's amazing. If you wonder if you should upgrade from a PK5 to this, I think it's absolutely worth the upgrade because it's a much smaller package, and it gives about the same sound. Why not? Absolutely, it is worth an upgrade. I was also very worried about maybe losing that LG PK5 sound signature, but it sounds like a PK5, but better in some cases. But honestly, it is a worthy upgrade, and that's it for this review. LG PL5.